Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my beautiful hot messes. My name is Mistress Lavender, and today I'm reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson. I'm in Chapter 8, The Importance of Saying No, on page 172. If you don't know where I'm at, you might as well click the first video. But if you do, let's get started. The setting of proper boundaries doesn't mean you can't help or support your partner or be helped and supported yourself. You both should support each other, but only because you choose to support and be supported, not because you feel obligated or entitled. Entitled people who blame others for their own emotions and actions do so because they feel that if they constantly paint themselves as a victim, eventually someone will come along and save them, and they will receive the love they've always wanted. Entitled people who take the blame for other people's emotions and actions do so because they believe that if they fix their partner or save him or her, they will receive the love and appreciation they've always wanted. They are the yin and yang of any toxic relationship, the victim and the saver, the person who starts fires because it makes her feel important, and the person who puts out fires because it makes him feel important. These two types of people are drawn strongly to one another, and usually end up together. Their pathologies match one another perfectly. Once they've grown up with parents, often they grow up with parents who each exhibit one of these traits so well. So their model for a happy relationship is one based on entitlement and poor boundaries. Sadly, they both fail in meeting the other's actual needs. In fact, their pattern of over blaming and over accepting blames perpetually Blame perpetuates the entitlement and essy self worth they have been keeping them from getting their emotional needs met in the first place. The victim creates more and more problems to solve, not because additional real problems exist, but because it gets her the attention and affection she craves. The saver solves and solves, not because she actually cares about the problem, but because she believes she must fix others' problems in order to deserve attention and affection for herself. In both cases, the intentions are selfish and conditional, and therefore self sabotaging, and genuine love is rarely experienced. The victim, if you really love the saver, would say, "Look, this is my problem. You don't have to fix it for me. Just support me while I fix it myself." That would actually be a demonstration of love, taking responsibility for your own problems and not holding your partner responsible for them. If the saver really wanted to save the victim, the saver would say, "Look, you're blaming others for your own problems. Deal with this yourself." And in a sick way, that would actually be a demonstration of love, helping someone solve their own problems. Instead, victims and savers both use each other to achieve emotional highs. It's like an addiction. They fulfill in one another. Ironically, when presented with emotionally healthy people to date, they usually feel bored or lack chemistry with them. They pass on emotional, healthy, secure individuals because the secure partner's solid boundaries don't feel exciting enough to stimulate the constant highs necessary in the entitled person. For victims, the hardest thing to do in the world is to hold themselves accountable for their problems. They've spent their whole lives believing that others are responsible for their fate. That first step of taking responsibility for themselves is often terrifying. For savers, the hardest thing to do in the world is to stop taking responsibility for other people's problems. They spent their whole life feeling valued and loved only when they're saving somebody else. So letting go of this need is terrifying to them as well. If you make a sacrifice for someone you care about, it needs to be because you want to, not because you feel obligated or fear the consequences of not doing so. If your partner is going to make a sacrifice for you, it needs to be because he or she genuinely wants to, not because you've manipulated the sacrifice through anger or guilt. Acts of love are only valid if they're performed without conditions or expectations. It can be difficult for people to recognize the difference between doing something out of obligation and doing it voluntarily. So here's a litmus test. Ask yourself, if I refuse, how would the relationship change? Similarly, ask, if my partner refused something I wanted, how would the relationship change? If the answer is that a refusal would cause a blowout of drama and broken chain broken china plates, then that's a bad sign for your relationship. It suggests that your relationship is conditional, based on superficial needs received from one another, rather than rather than on unconditional acceptance of each other. along with each other's problems. People with strong boundaries are not afraid of a temper tantrum, an argument, or getting hurt. People with weak boundaries are terrified of those things and will constantly mold their own behavior to fit the highs and lows of their relationship. Emotional roller coaster. People with strong boundaries understand that it's unresponsible to expect two people to accommodate each other 100% and fulfill every need the other has. People with strong boundaries understand that they may hurt someone's feelings sometimes, but ultimately they don't determine how others feel. People with strong boundaries understand that a healthy relationship is not about controlling one another's emotions, but rather about each other, each partner supporting the other in the individual growth and in solving their own problems. It's not about giving an F about everything your partner gives an F about. It's about giving an F about your partner regardless of the F's he or she gives. That's unconditional love, baby. How to build trust. My wife is one of the women who spend a lot of time in front of a mirror. She loves to look amazing, and I love for her to look amazing too, obviously. Nights before we go out, she comes out of the bathroom after an hour long of makeup, hair, clothes, whatever women do in their session, and asks me how she looks. She's usually gorgeous. Every once in a while, though, she looks bad. Why would Maybe she tried to do something new with her hair or decided to wear a pair of boots that some flamboyant fashion designer from Milan thought are avant garde. Whatever the reason, it just doesn't work. When I tell her this, she usually gets pissed off as she marches back in the closet or the bathroom to redo everything, and she makes us 30-minute late. She spouts a bunch of four-letter words and sometimes even slings a few of them in my direction. Men stereotypically lie in this situation to make their girlfriend slash wives happy. But I don't. Why? Because honesty in my relationship is more important to me than feeling good all the time. The last person I should ever have to center myself with is the woman I love. Fortunately, I'm married to a woman who agrees and is willing to hear my uncensored thoughts. She calls me out on my BS too. Of course, which is one of the most important traits she offers me as a partner. Sure, my ego gets bruised sometimes, and I be and complain and try to argue, but a few hours later, I come sulking back and admit that she was right. And holy crap, she makes me a whole better person, even though I hate hearing it sometimes. When our highest priority is to always make ourselves feel good or to always make our partner feel good, then nobody ends up feeling good. And our relationship falls apart our without our even knowing it. Without conflict, there can be no trust. Conflict conflict exists to show us who is there for us unconditionally and who is there for the benefits. No one trusts the yes man. If disappointed Pamela was here, he'd tell you that the pain in our relationship is necessary to cement our trust in each other and produce greater intimacy. For a relationship to be healthy, both people must be willing and able to say no or hear no without negation, without the occasional rejection. Boundaries break down, and one person's problems and values come to dominate the others. Conflict is not only normal, then, it's absolutely necessary for the maintenance of a healthy relationship. If two people who are close are not able to hash out their differences openly and vocally, then the relationship is based on manipulation and misrepresentation, and it will slowly become toxic. Trust is the most important ingredient in any relationship, for the simple reason that without trust, the relationship doesn't actually mean anything. A person could tell you that she loves you, wants to be with you, would give up everything for you. But if you don't trust her, you get no benefit from those statements. You don't feel loved until you trust the love being expressed towards you comes without special conditions or baggage attached to it. This is what's so destructive about cheating. It's not about the sex, it's about the trust that has been destroyed as a result of the sex. Without trust, the relationship can no longer function. So it's either rebuilt it's either rebuilt the trust or say your goodbyes. I often get emails from people who have been, been cheated on by their significant other, but want to stay with that partner and are wondering how they can trust him or her again. Without trust, they tell me, the relationship has begun to feel like a burden, like a threat that must be monitored and questioned rather than enjoyed. The problem here is that most people who often get caught cheating apologize and give the "it will never happen again" smile, and that's that. As if penises fell into various orifices completely by accident. Many cheatees accept this response in face value and don't question the values and oop, I said a word online, and F's given by their partner, pun totally intended. They don't ask themselves whether those values and F's make their partner a good person to stay with. They're so concerned with holding on the relationship that they fail to recognize that it's become a black hole consuming their self respect. If people cheat, it's because something other than the relationship is more important to them. It may be power over others. It may be validation through sex. It may be giving in to their own impulses. Whatever it is, it's clear that the cheater's values are not aligned in a way to support a healthy relationship. And if the cheater doesn't admit this or come to term with it, if he just gives the old "I don't know what I was thinking, I was stressed out and drunk and she was there" response, then he lacks that serious self-awareness necessary to solve any relationship problems. What needs to happen is that the cheaters have to start peeling away at their self-awareness onion and figure out what effed up values cause them to break the trust of the relationship and whether they actually still value the relationship. They need to be able to say, you know what, I am selfish. I care about myself more than the relationship. To be honest, I don't really respect the relationship much at all. If cheaters can't express their SE values and show that those values have been overridden, then there's no reason to believe that they can be trusted. And if it can't be trusted, then the relationship is not going to get better or change. The other factor in regaining trust after it's been broken is a practical one. A track record. If someone breaks your trust, words are nice, but you need to see a consistent track record of improved behavior. Only then can you be trusting that the cheater's values are now aligned properly and the person really will change. Unfortunately, building a track record for trust takes time. Currently, a lot of times it takes to break trust. And during that trust building period, things are likely to be pretty essy. So people so both people in the relationship must be conscious of the struggle they're choosing to undertake. I use the example of cheating in a relationship, but the process applies to a breach of any relationship. When trust is destroyed, it can be rebuilt only in the following of two steps happen. One, the trust breaker admits the true values that caused the breach and owns up to them. And two, the trust breaker builds a solid track record of improved behavior over time. Without the first step, there should be no attempt of reconciliation in the first place. Trust is like a china plate. If you break it once with some care and attention, you could put it back together again. But if you break it again, it splits into even more pieces and it takes far longer to piece it together. If you break it more and more times, eventually it shatters to the point where it's impossible to restore. There are too many broken pieces and too much dust. Freedom through commitment. Consumer culture is very good at making us want more, more, more. Underneath all the hype and marketing is the implication that more is always better. I bought into this idea for years. Make more money, visit more countries, have more experiences, be with more women. But more is not always better. In fact, the opposite is true. We are often happier with less. When we're overloaded with opportunities and options, we suffer from what psychologists refer to as the paradox of choice. Basically, the more options we're given, the less satisfied we become with whatever we chose because we're aware of all the other options we're potentially forfeiting. So, if you have a choice between two places to live and pick one, you'll likely feel confident and comfortable that you made the right choice. You'll be satisfied with the decision. But if you have a choice between 28 places to live and pick one, the paradox of choice saying that you'll likely spend years agonizing, doubting, and second guessing yourself, wondering if you made the right choice and if you're truly maximizing your own happiness. And this anxiety, this desire for certainty and perfection and success will make you unhappy. So, what do we do? Well, you're like, if you're like, what? Well, if you're like I used to be, what? You avoid choosing at all. Oh, you aim to keep your options open as possible. You avoid commitment. But while investing deeply in one person, one place, one job, one activity might deny us of the breadth of experience we'd like to pursue. Okay, I'm messing up a lot. You heard it. I'm on page 188. I'm 181 of the Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, chapter 8, the importance of saying no. I will continue on page 181 by saying, but while investing deeply in one person. But thank you for joining me. There's a lot of times I messed up, but honestly, I'm having fun. I'm learning, and I hope you're having a great day. Drink water, eat some food. Bye. I'll see you next video.